In college football 27, they have dropped their top 25 hardest places to play at in the game. A lot of people have had their opinions about this. Some people, they say they love the list. Some people, they don't like the list. Some people say, how did this school get in? Some people ask, where is the school at? But let's go down this list. First, we have LSU. Second, we have Ohio State. Third, we have Penn State. Fourth, we have Georgia. Fifth, we have Alabama. Sixth, we have Oregon. Seventh, we have Florida. Eighth, we have Tennessee. Ninth, we have Clemson. 10th, we have Texas A&M. 11th, we have Oklahoma. 12th, we have Michigan. 13th is Texas. 14th is Auburn. 15th is Washington. 16th is South Carolina. 17th is Indiana. 18th is Utah. 19th is Iowa. 20th is Notre Dame. 21st is Florida State. 22nd, Virginia Tech. 23rd, NC State. 24th is BYU. And 25th, we're ending it off at Mississippi State. Now, some people, like I said, a lot of people have had their opinions. A lot of people say, why isn't Tennessee so high? Well, then you guys got to understand, just because a place is loud doesn't mean that it's a guaranteed win. Now, Tennessee, yes, they do have the record for the loudest stadium in college football history, being the loudest stadium ever. Yes. But people keep holding that for Tennessee. And it's like, look, at some point, you guys got to understand, yes, Tennessee has the loudest decibel record in in the college football history. But then you also got to understand, some teams, it's kind of pretty easy for them to go into Neyland Stadium and get a W. People say, how does Indiana get put on this list? You guys got to understand, Indiana within the past 2 seasons went undefeated, and they just came off a natty. Even when they went into the college football playoff run, commentators have said, I don't know if this is a college football playoff game or if this is an Indiana home game. The amount of people that have been there, and they've been loud, and they've been roaring. Did y'all see which game? I think it was Oregon? Or was it Miami? That stadium was full of Indiana fans. It felt like I think it was Miami. They literally said, even though it was a national championship, they literally said Miami's playing in their home stadium and Indiana fans have outnumbered them. But we know why, because of the ticket prices. We know why. But even if people say, why is this school still in? You guys got, like I said, you guys got to understand. Some schools, they play terrible at home, but historically, they are loud. They get rocking any given Saturday. Like South Carolina. The only thing I'll give South Carolina credit for, the South Carolina Chickenpox, is that, yes, they suck. Yes, they suck. But on any given Saturday, they get rocking. I will give them that. They do get rocking. How one of my friends told me from college. Well, how one of my friends told me, because in college, if William Bryce ain't swaying, then South Carolina ain't playing. And I said, hey, that is a true statement. Now, we also have Clemson whiners. You know, Clemson, they you know how bad they were at home this past season. But guess what? I'll give credit to Clemson. They do get rocking. They do get rocking. I've been to Clemson Stadium this past season when they played Florida State. And if you have not seen that video, check that video out. I did say Clemson, they weren't that loud as people always talk about them to be. But then at the same time, Florida State and Clemson, they both had mid-seasons. They both had very mid-seasons this past season, and I'm expecting both of those teams to do really good. Now, Florida State. People say, why is Florida State dropped? Why aren't they top? You guys got to understand, Florida State, I'm a Florida State fan, big Florida State fan. You guys got to understand, within the past 2 seasons, we were terrible. We are terrible at home. Within the past 2 seasons, we are terrible at home. We can't win at home. We can't stay within the top 15 of the hardest places to play if teams walk in our stadium and take over our trap and walk off that field with a W. Look at Florida State's home record within the past 2 years, and you'll see why we dropped all the way down from 14, maybe top 15, maybe top 10 hardest places to play, now to number 21. You will see why. We are loud. Yes, we get that when we go. When we get that going, it is loud. It is hectic. It is hard to listen through that. But then you guys got to understand, Florida State fans, we have not packed Doak Campbell Stadium in how long? We don't pack that stadium out. We don't have sellout crowds because you know why? We suck at home. We terrible. We're terrible. And I'm a Florida State fan. I'm telling people we are not that good at home. Now people say, what about Texas A&M? That place gets rocking. Yes, does Texas A&M get rocking? Yes. But then you also got to understand Texas A&M. The crowd has kind of gone downhill. At some moments, you guys had Miami walk in and take over your trap, and that kind of was the biggest detrimental to y'all's season, especially when y'all had a good season. You know, now they are historically loud, but then you also got to understand some teams have walked into Texas A&M and took over that trap, i.e. Notre Dame, Texas, Miami. I mean, now I will say this: when Mo Bamba starts playing in Kyle Field, oh, it gets scary. Now it's not as scary as Penn State, but it gets scary. You know, and people say, why isn't Penn State still over Ohio State? You guys got to understand, Penn State lost how many home games this past season? Penn State, yes, they are very, very loud, very, very rocking, but they did lose a lot of home games this past season. They did lose a lot of home games. And I will say this, obviously, if you're a fan of a school, you want them to be number one, but I'm not mad at this list. I'm very satisfied with this list. I think this list is accurate. Very accurate, you know? And like I said, just because some schools, they're not publicly known as other schools doesn't mean that they're not rocking. Like Washington. People think, why is Washington still on this list? Washington, they have a very, very good home record, and their crowd is very loud. People say Iowa. You guys got to understand, Iowa, they might not get ranked all the time, but Iowa is loud. Kinnick Stadium is loud. From what you guys got to understand that. Just because y'all look at it from, if these places aren't in the top 25, how are they a hard place to play in? And you guys got to understand, just because you're not ranked doesn't mean that your crowd isn't loud. Some of these places, they're not ranked, but their crowd gets like BYU. I like BYU being in this list because you know why? BYU is naturally loud. Those fans are not drunk. They're not hot. Like, those fans are sober. Every single one of those fans are 9 times out of 10 sober because they're a Catholic school. They're a religious school. BYU, those fans get roaring off of soberness. 100% consciousness. You know how impressive that is to be that loud and you're not a single person is drunk? You got to give credit to them. And BYU, I think BYU in the Big 12, BYU is the loudest stadium in the Big 12. I agree with that. But like I said, y'all let me know in the comments what y'all think about this. Make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe. And I'll have more videos out there for you.